When you think about challenges in California, I think about the high taxes, I think about the lack of retail access, and I think about this, the strong traditional market. What is it about 25 and moving forward that makes you optimistic? What do you see specifically changing?
The core of our business is extraction. We're one of the, I'd say, larger extraction companies in the state of California. We focus on powering a lot of the bigger brands in the state. And supply chain's been like the challenge in our business since the inception, since 2016, I guess it was. And we've got a new project in Santa Barbara that we're working on, so it's a very large farm. I was actually there this morning just overseeing everything. So fully planted this coming year, and we're gonna put a dent in some of our supply chain needs. And for us, it's like that's gonna be one of the things that kind of like gets us pointed in a much more positive direction than we have been in the past.
And so what do you think the recipe for winning in California is?
Having grit. You gotta like really want to survive in this industry. And unfortunately, I feel like our team we're all on that mindset. It's like we're very much like we're in it to win it. And I think if you have that, you can get through anything. It's ups, downs, challenges. You ignore the BS and focus on what's good and just keep marching forward.
Yeah, so in August, guys, I went out and visited LEEF Brand's new cultivation site, which is called Salisbury Canyon Ranch, which we can talk a little bit more about. But one of the things I really like about the company, even before we started working together, we started covering them, was your culture is really unique, and I think it's really authentic. I think a lot of companies these days are glued together by a bunch of money that they raised, and they try to hire the right people to grow the flower, and it's sometimes too many decisions made by people in suits and not enough authenticity to the company. I think you guys balance that really well, where I think you're financially mindful and you're sophisticated, but I also think you guys have one of the best cultures that I've seen in cannabis, where everybody you meet at LEEF really cares about the plant. And I don't think that's always the case, especially in some of the big MSOs. It just becomes a financial model. Can you talk a little bit about how you describe the LEEF culture and how that's important?
Yeah, I mean, the people running the company are the people that started the company, or at least on the LEEF holding side. All of us have been in the industry. I kind of like handpicked the guys that I knew 20 years ago in the industry, and they're still involved. And all of us, I feel like, are getting a crash course in business education that we never thought that we would get. So like, if that's one thing that I'm super grateful about this whole ride in this company, is that I didn't go to college. I didn't, transparently speaking, I barely finished high school, and a lot of my other partners are similar, and so it's been this process of like, okay, we've done, I feel like a couple of the mistakes that I've seen other companies do, guys like myself that like have been in the industry for a long time, they started getting a bit of success. They wanted to outsource, the imposter syndrome thing becomes real, and it's like they start outsourcing the C-level positions that they think that they need, and I've seen it go good, and I've seen a lot more cases than not it goes bad, and that's one of the things that we've really tried to protect against is when it comes to culture, is that we're doing something corporate in an industry that once wasn't corporate, and we just want to really make sure that we don't lose the spirit of why we're originally in this industry. And we're a publicly traded company, and we're doing a lot of corporate things, and that culture and that team kind of mindset is, I think, if I could attribute anything to LEEF's success so far, that's got to be the one that I would point to.
Yeah. LEEF's business today, they have a 12,000 square foot extraction facility in Willits in Northern California, which you can tell me, Micah, I think that's the largest or one of the largest in the States. There they have things like ethanol extraction for making distillate. They have hydrocarbon extraction for making things like shatter, butters and sugars. And they also have solventless, which plays into that larger rosin category, which is getting more popular. But what's been missing, for lack of a better term, in the middle has been the cultivation side of things. But that's changing this year, and I think that's one of the most exciting things about LEEF Brands is this new cultivation facility called Salisbury Canyon Ranch. And this is 187 acres. It's about an hour and a half or so from Santa Barbara in Santa Barbara County. That's being planted this spring. The first harvest will be this fall. And why don't you talk a little bit, Mike, about what is Salisbury Canyon Ranch and how is that going to help improve and transform the LEEF Brands business?
Yeah, so the ranch itself is a couple thousand acres. Our permit, it's on the larger side. It's 187 acres. We're not going to do that year one. We don't think that, like how Leon laughs over here. It's a big permit that we're going to scale into over the next few years. LEEF, last year, 2023, LEEF purchased about 125 acres of raw cannabis material, whether it was frozen or dry, That's the amount of acreage supply chain wise that it took to fund or fuel our manufacturing business. So we run about, on average, 30,000 pounds a month of dry material, about the same in frozen material, and then, yeah, between hydrocarbon and our solventless lime. So we'll put a dent in that. We'll start with like 40 to 50 acres this year. We've been on, I feel like, almost every farm in California, and it's a huge state, so supply chain procurement, like in order to do what we're doing, you really got to be on procurement, almost like more neurotically than you even are on sales, because without the material, your business is dead in the water, right? So we focus on that immensely, and when we found the farm, one of the things that a lot of farms that we deal with run into the problem is just pesticide drift. And we run into it all the time. About 65% of what we test fails, and we're not able to use it. We try and do our very best to just work with the guys that have like a history of being clean every time, all the time. But at the end of the day, it's farming, and people run into issues here and there. And so this farm, the reason why I'm saying all this is the size of the farm and the way that this field sits within the farm. When we found it, we're like, yeah, this is the one, because there's no drift issues whatsoever. We're our own buffer. It's 2,000 acres, but what surrounds us is like 200,000 acres. So it's a very unique spot. It's got a housing compound on it that's pretty cool. It sleeps about 40 people. And so one of the things that we're going to be doing is our goal is to, this time, come the end of the year, is to offer that to our clients. Different retail chains that we work with or different brands that we work with, they get to use it for their entire team. So you guys bring up your entire team, treat it as if it's your own, teach them how to shoot guns, how to do archery, how to ride horses. Yeah, so we got a lot of ideas in the works.
And so one of the things that's unique about LEEF is you're growing flower, but you're growing flower for a specific purpose, right? There may be some flower that's sold as flower, but the vast majority of what they're growing, I say vast majority, might be, you could elaborate, but let's call it 90% plus, 95% plus, is going to extracts. And to me, that was fascinating, because when you're growing for extracts, you're growing for different things. And so if you think about distillate, with distillate, you don't care about terpenes because those get stripped out. You don't care about CBD or CBG because those get stripped out. You're just interested in THC. But if you're growing for rosin or hydrocarbon, for example, you'll care a lot about terpenes and more of a full spectrum type effect. So talk a little bit about, in terms of growing for extracts and how that's a unique process that you're doing at the farm.
Yeah, so it's more like 99% of what we're doing. If we do any flower at all, it'll be very de minimis. We're really trying to stay focused on what we do, which is extracts. So as far as harvesting practices, one of the farms that we work with in California, if you guys are California operators, you probably know Lifted Farms. They're in Watsonville. They run about 20 acres. Good partners of ours. They've been like one of the most reliable sources, as well as Leon's farm over here at PDG. We work with them quite a bit as well. So trying to incorporate a lot of the methods that these guys have already learned prior to us. So we do have a cultivation background within the company, but it's not necessarily our expertise. So we brought in these guys to really help us with what we don't know, so we don't stumble year one and just stay really focused on our extraction business.
Yeah. Well, good stuff. Appreciate it, Micah. Thanks everyone for listening, and that concludes us for today.
Cool. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I'll take that from you, Micah.
Yeah,
Jesse, really, really.